They're two of the most demanding musicians of the rock and roll era, a duo that would stop at nothing to make the perfect record. In this feature, we spotlight one of the most acclaimed and longest-running tracks of the careers of a genius twosome who brought true sophistication to pop music. The cultivation of a 1970s classic is presented next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. If you want to get the stories about the songs that have become the soundtrack of your very life, click on the subscribe button below. We'd love to have you. Also make sure to visit professorofrock.com. Have some new merch. Little shameless promotion there. And also check us out on Patreon. Both of these things help our channel keep going, keep it daily. So Steely Dan's sixth studio album, Asia, is regarded by many music professionals as one of the best produced albums of all time. The record won the Grammy Award for Best Engineered Recording in 1978. 2010, the Library of Congress selected Asia for preservation in the National Recording Registry for being culturally, historically, and artistically significant. 40 of the finest session musicians that money can buy collaborated with Steely Dan founders Walter Becker and Donald Fagen to create the high-fidelity masterpiece. By the time the third studio LP, Pretzel Logic, was released, Fagen and Becker had made the decision to forego the idea of having a core band unit in favor of enlisting session players. I'm sure the financial benefits of not having to pay royalties to additional members was attractive to Walter and Donald, but that's not what it was. Evolving to contracting outside musician was more about their meticulous nature and their desire to experiment to find perfect sounds. Hiring the best studio players meant that they could work with inventive artists that had specialized talent. They could simply audition until they found that player that flawlessly produced the exact sounds that they were looking for. For the two longtime compadres, it was fulfilling to experiment with different combinations of revolving musicians to advance their music into enlightened territory. When they had an idea for something exciting, they found the musicians that had the skill to turn that idea into reality. The process seemed arduous to some, but the final result was always worth the exercise. The lead single from Asia was Peg, an artfully designed track that cleverly blended a tonal Steely Dan sophistication with an irresistible pop eurythmic. It was a prime example of the discriminating retentiveness of Donald Fagen and the wizard that preferred to stay behind the curtain away from the spotlight, the late Walter Becker. For the recording of Peg, the duo brought in a group of first-rate musicians, and if they weren't completely satisfied with what was played, they would scrap every performance track and bring in an entirely new bunch of players the very next day. Elliot Shiner, who painstakingly engineered Asia by following Becker and Fagen's scrupulous approach, recounted that every track and every overdub had to be absolutely perfect. Per usual with Steely Dan, Peg was not your conventional single. There was nothing like it on the radio. There are a lot of unusual chords in Peg, including major blues and jazz chords with a reworked 12-bar blues progression and a church cadence built into the figure of the track. To kick the song off, Fagen directed Paul Griffin to play a Rhodes electric piano and Don Grolnick to play the clavinet simultaneously. Fagen and Becker really dug the odd sounds of the two keyboards when they're pressed together, one creating smooth, jazzy sound against the funky vibe of the other one. One of the top-notch session players that made the cut for Fagen and Becker was Grammy Award-winning guitarist, the great Jay Gradon, who was summoned to audition for the guitar solo for Peg after 7 coveted guitarists tried and failed to satisfy the two leaders of Steely Dan. High bar there. Jay Gradon arrived with a truck containing his arsenal of guitars, and he decided to go with his, it was a 1964 Gibson wide-neck ES-335 to dazzle Becker and Fagen. Gradon recalled that he was playing a melodic kind of jazz riff for over an hour in his so-called audition when Fagen told him to switch to a blues riff. More than 4 hours later, Gradon left the studio not sure if he was going to land the part until he caught Peg being played over the radio weeks later. And lo and behold, they used his guitar parts. He was ecstatic that they adored his work because every studio musician wanted to be on a Steely Dan record. Gradon was also a prolific songwriter himself, co-writing the number 2 smash by Earth, Wind & Fire, After the Love Is Gone. Also, George Benson's top 5 pop and number 1 R&B hit, Turn Your Love Around. As we go further into breaking this song down, I want to recognize our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, the glasses I wear every single day. They help to make this programming possible. Zenni's amazing. When you go to Zenni.com, you can shop by the shape of your face. You've got so many different styles, so many different colors, so many different ways. You can look at how, you can see how you look on their virtual try-on feature before you buy. See exactly how you're going to look. Put in your address, put in your prescription, and they deliver them right to your door. It's amazing. Try it out today. It sure looks good on you. Tom Scott was another coveted player that Steely Dan recruited to play on Peg. Tom was a go-to brass guy. He's equally gifted with woodwinds. For Peg, Fagen and Becker wanted Scott to play a lyrican in between the verses. Now, the choice to use a lyrican instead of a typical saxophone that Tom Scott most commonly played, that's another example of Fagen and Becker's pursuit for perfection. As many of you might know, it's an instrument that responds extremely well to pitch, lip, and breath changes. The lyrican looked like a soprano sax and it plugged into a small synthesizer console built into its case. Tom adjusted the console's bars and switches to give it a synth-generated sound of that era, adding his distinctive wind and breath nuances. Now, throughout the 70s into the 80s, the lyrican was selected by jazz greats Sonny Rollins and Roland Kirk, and 2 artists actually that Fagen and Becker really admired. A lyrican was performed by Tom Scott on Terrapin Station, The Grateful Dead. There's also Michael Jackson's immortal Billie Jean. By the time that Billie Jean became an international phenomenon, though, the company that manufactured the lyrican, Computone, they went into bankruptcy. Lyricans were pretty expensive. They're also difficult to repair, rendering them too troublesome for a majority of musicians out there. One of the session elite that always nailed what Becker and Fagen was listening for was a great McD, Micheal McDonald. Michael was actually seriously in the conversation to be Steely Dan's lead vocalist before he joined the Doobie Brothers. When Donald Fagen was struggling with the pressure of being the band's frontman at the beginning there. Walter and Donald had mad respect for Micheal McDonald because of his unique ability to instinctively deliver precise vocal phrasings in a variety of styles and octaves. They could count on Michael to hit the exact notes and the nuances that they really wanted. On Peg, Micheal McDonald really shines with his high note harmonies and rhythmic phrasing. On that richly crafted song, Peg, It Will Come Back to You chorus. It was really a warning shot. One of the smoothest voices in rock history, Mick D. He would also follow up this song with other legendary backup performances like This Is It with Kenny Loggins. Of course, who could forget Ride Like the Wind with Christopher Cross? The slapping bass line really is the unsung hero on Peg, performed by the amazing Chuck Rainey.
Your name is lots above it.
While the rhythm guitar was played by the esteemed Steve Kahn, there's so many layers to Peg. Peg is all about rhythm. The rhythm, the flow, the beat, the atmosphere, and the vocal structure cooking along an infectious R&B groove with that funky percussive beat provided by Gary Coleman, Victor Feldman, and drummer Rick Marotta. There's still a lot of speculation about who Peg is really about, who they wrote it for. Some believe it was a song about Peg Entwistle, an actress who jumped to her death from the top of the Hollywood sign in Hollywood before the release of her film debut. I think that was in 1932. This was when she's only 24. I've seen your picture, your name in lights above it. This is your big debut. It's like a dream come true. Others have concluded that Peg is about an actress who is lured into taking her clothes off for a European adult film, and the decision to show her naked body will come back to haunt her. That theory comes from the lyrics in the chorus, Peg, it will come back to you. Then the shutter falls, you see it all in 3D.
The shutter falls, you see it all in 3D.
Donald Fagen admits that Peg was written about a real person, but he claims it was not about Peg Entwistle. The person that inspired the song wasn't even named Peg, according to Donald. He actually said he only used that name because he thought it was catchy and it worked a lot better within the structure of the song. Kind of like he's talked about this, Hey Jude instead of Hey Jules.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad.
The true meaning of Peg, let's be honest, it will continue to be an enigma because Donald Fagen refuses to divulge the source, which is totally cool. That's what makes him so amazing. Fagen did give us a little inside information, however. He imagined the story of the mysterious Peg character taking place at a seedy photo shoot in Los Angeles and narrated from the perspective of a jilted boyfriend. The forsaken lover no longer fits in with the glamorous lifestyle of an ascending starlet, and she leaves him behind with a pinup and a Dear John letter. So Walter and Donald changed the phrase to describe the photo from pinup to pin shot because, in Fagen's words, pinup didn't sing well. So they came up with a pin shot as a made-up word that not only flowed better, but sounded sleazier than pinup, really. As with any other Steely Dan song, the philosophy of the tandem of Fagen and Becker is that man is better off not knowing the true meaning of their songs. Since Donald Fagen zeroed in on shame and smut while keeping a veil on who Peg is and what she did at that sordid photo shoot, I'm inclined to think that the tune is really about a young woman that wanted to be a movie star, got lured into erotica, and her ex-boyfriend is getting his revenge. It's your favorite foreign movie. It will come back to you. In other words, karma is a,
It's your favorite
So Peg rose to number 11 on the Billboard Hot 100 here in the U.S. and then went to number 7 in Canada for 3 weeks in 1978. I believe the single spent 19 weeks on the Billboard Hot 100 total, which tied for the longest run of a Steely Dan track on the survey, their highest charting single, Ricky Don't Lose That Number.
Ricky, don't lose that number.
That shot to number 4 in 1974. Hey 19, that was a number 10 hit in 1980.
Hey 19, that's Aretha Franklin.
Peg was used as the theme music for a celebrity paparazzi segment for the syndicated news magazine Entertainment Tonight from 1981 to 1985. Some of you 80s kids might remember that. The melody of Peg was heavily sampled on the 1989 De La Soul song, I Know. In 2007, the song was covered by Narina Pallet, and it was covered by Donny Osmond in 2014.
come back to you.
I've said this in past episodes. I came to Steely Dan later in life. I mean, I knew their hits well, but it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I truly understood the magnitude and the depth of their work, the genius of their lyrics. I mean, they're as lyrically subversive as any artist in the history of recorded music. I don't think there will ever be another duo as clever and as musically ambitious as Donald Fagen and Walter Becker. The music of Steely Dan, it's often described as dark and cynical. Fagen and Becker were once called sociopaths masquerading as benign dictators. To me, the music of Steely Dan is all about the human element, the mysterious, uncontrolling, unscientific force that actually creates true art. Without the human element, there is lifeless, manufactured, uninspired throwaways that just don't hold up over time. Think about how hard it is to watch a movie on VHS or a TV show that's not broadcast in HD. It's almost unwatchable now that we've experienced that. Technology advances so fast, get rid of the old and move on to the latest gadget or the latest social media craze. I mean, remember when MySpace was the future? And it was Facebook, then Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. Soon there'll be some other platform that the public goes wild for, and the others might fade away. But that's why the music of Steely Dan is truly timeless. It's the human element, the vision, and the pursuit of excellence by Donald Fagen and Walter Becker, who always strived for the music to sound as amazing as it could. The duo that drove Steely Dan represent the human element with their vision, their imagination, and their uncompromising artistic integrity. Peg, envisioned and executed by Steely Dan, the namesake of Fagen and Becker, and an assembly of some of the world's greatest musical artists, created an imperial, stereophonic achievement. No doubt about it. Don't take my word for it. Get yourself a pair of high-quality headphones and discover or rediscover the authentic genius of this song. Rick Marotta and Jay Gradon, whose extraordinary talents were featured on the recording, called Peg the greatest track that they've ever played on. When you look at who they've played with, the people that they've worked with, it truly puts Steely Dan in perspective. Leave us a comment about this infectious pop ditty. What are your thoughts on Steely Dan and their musical output? What are your memories, your experiences with this tremendous song and their music? Please let us know in the comments. If you like our content, subscribe below. We'd love to have you. Check out our other content on Patreon and take a look at our merch on professorofrock.com. Help us keep the music alive. Very important. Till next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.